Hello and welcome back to Lorcana Villain. My name is Baker, and today is our next deck profile and gameplay on the video. We are going to be taking a look at some Amber Ruby Mufasa. This has been one of my favourite deck types since Mufasa was released in Rise of the Floodborn. I played an awful lot of this deck in set 2 in one of Tia's online tournaments. I went 6-3 with this deck, and I also did a scripted, very in-depth video about Mufasa. If you are a really new player, then I would recommend you go back and watch that video that I did from Rise of the Floodborn format, which will be linked down below. I know we're in a new format now, we have new cards, but by and large the deck still plays relatively the same. And while we do have some new toys, there's not a lot. The deck looks pretty similar. So if you are very new to Lorcana, then I would recommend go check out my Mufasa in-depth video from Season 2, and that any information given in that will still be very applicable for current formats. But yes, Mufasa did indeed get some new toys. Now, I've got a lot of games that I'm going to show you, an awful lot of games. I think it's 9 or 10. Hyper-clipped and sped up, as always, with time stamps for you to skip to the games that you find the most interesting. But I like to show a variety of games. So in the interest of that, I'm going to try and not make the deck profile section of this video too long. But there are still some things I want to go over. So in the games that you see today, you're going to see 2 different builds of Mufasa. You're going to see this build here on the screen right now, and you're going to see this build here, which you can see finally we are repping the very large mouth himself, Professor Ratigan, who is MVP in this deck, by the way. So excited. But yeah, those are the 2 different decks that you're going to actually see games for. Now, when set 3 first came out, Mufasa was the first deck I started testing. And originally, I was playing this version here. A lot of these cards we have moved away from. I was originally playing a 4-4 Pluto line. You can see Perdita in there and Hydra. Now, Hydra's a different conversation because while I'm not playing him in my build you're going to see gameplay of today, I still think it's a very viable choice, and we'll come back to that. But my deck has changed a lot. Perdita I found to be the most underwhelming. I think there's definitely a case for Hydra making its way back in. I would definitely cut the Floodborn Plutos. There is also an argument to putting in the 1-drop Plutos, which we'll talk a bit more about. But yeah, that was my original build, and then it slowly became this, where I have moved away from the Perdita and the Floodborn Pluto, and I was playing a 3-3 Aladdin line, which I still don't hate. It's probably a meme, it's probably not optimal, but it was okay, it wasn't awful. But yeah, then I moved away from Mufasa to try other things. And in terms of top cuts, the first top cut Mufasa deck that I saw that really intrigued me the most was courtesy of Brennan, who made top 16 in the online The Pack tournament, utilising the Tinkerbell, Generous Fairy, and Peter Pan Neverland Hero, which I thought was really interesting. So I was really keen to try this Peter Pan and Tinkerbell package out. And that is what led me to this build, which will be the first couple of games that you see today. So, Mufasa, as always, trying to take advantage of the betrayed leader, the fact that when he is banished, we get to flip the top card of our deck, and then if it's a character, it immediately goes to the field. So, we're hoping that Mufasa not only allows us to keep tempo if they're taking out Mufasa with a challenge. Hopefully he's taking out that character in return and then replacing himself, or even if they are removing Mufasa with things like Smash, at least the card is preferably replacing itself. So, we want to keep board tempo, and we are basically just a mid-range aggro deck. Our key really is we don't want the game to go long, but it can, and we do have the tools to work with that. We're playing a high count of Maleficence, which again is one of our ideal hits off of Mufasa. We've got a 2-2 count of the ladies in red for some more control. We've got 4 Maui, so these things are going to give us a little bit to play with in the mid to late game, but really we want to be just questing as quick as we can, utilising our mid-range powerful characters. Our early game can be a little dodgy. We in this deck are playing a 4-4 Queen line, which is in both versions of this deck that you're going to see showcased today. And it is the card that I am still not completely sold on. Now, it's kind of important for locations because we can really struggle with it. We have Maui's, of course, but sometimes he's not enough on his own. And even if you only need to find another 3 damage for like McDuck mana, there's no guarantee you always have that. But it's just a little bit more security against locations, but also just me being able to take some of these bodies that don't hit so hard, like Queen of Hearts, Peter Pan, Tinkerbell, Prince Eric, and get them up to more respectable numbers to control the board a little bit more. But I could see myself moving away from the Queen. Our draw obviously is rooted into our Rapunzels and our Surfer Stitches. So Mother Gothel's very important. We are running 2 Queen of Hearts to help us with that early game against aggro. Doc, one of the most important pieces in the entire deck to help us play characters cheaper. So preferably we want a turn 4 5-drop of either Mufasa or Goofy, or sometimes it needs to be Maui if you're on the draw and you need to respond to a board. Also worth mentioning, if you've got Doc on turn 3, turn 4 you can play Pluto for 2 and then pay his 2-ing to immediately draw a card. So he's kind of a 5-drop as well. And we're also utilising lanterns. Now, there is definitely an argument to moving away from lanterns, especially because there's a lot more Benja in format again. You're seeing a lot of hard-headed beasts making their way back into steel decks, and of course, Rise of the Titans. So there is definitely an argument to moving away from lantern altogether, but I played 3 in all the games that you're about to see. I really like Goofy. A turn 4 Goofy drop can just be so hard for your opponent to deal with, and he can cheat out 4 to 6 lore before they have any way of getting around him. And hey, if they don't have evasive, then even in the later game, then they might struggle to get around him, or at least he might demand the attention of like their harder removal. Especially against Sapphire decks, because obviously the thing that can stop Mufasa's ability going off is Hades and Let It Go, cards that send him to the inkwell. So if we can bait out those cards with a Goofy, then that's better than it being Mufasa. We're also playing 1 copy of Chernabog. This deck goes through characters very quickly, so being able to have this online on turns 5 or 6 is quite realistic, especially if you combo it with lanterns and docks. And again, if we're able to recycle these Mufasas, these Prince Erics, these Goofies, these ladies in red, then that's only going to be good for us. The Chernabog does complement the Queen line, to be honest, though, because obviously if you are going for an aggressive early Queen line, then that's more characters that are going to end up in your discard. So yeah, I like Chernabog as a 1. But yeah, most interestingly, we have the Peter Pan and Tinkerbell. Now, the Tinkerbell I love. I built in Be Our Guest to look at the top 4 cards of our deck and put a character into our hand. It's card draw, which this deck is lacking. It's helping us find, do we need one of the ladies in red? Do we need the Maui? Do we need the Mufasa? Is this the time to press with Mufasa? Do we need to dig for draw like Rapunzel or Stitch? So this is really nice. And the fact that with lanterns, you can play this on turn 3 is really strong. The same is true of Prince Eric. I think this deck is Prince Eric's best home. Amber Ruby Mufasa, absolutely. Playing this on turn 3 can be really, really strong. Yes, they're probably dealing with it quite quickly, but all being well, whatever they challenge into you with, maybe your 2 damage takes them out in return, or if it does, then his banish effect is banishing something else on the field, and you at least quest it for 2. So yeah, the turn 3 drop of Eric or Tinkerbell after a lantern is pretty good if you're not opting to go Doc. But if you're not worried about item removal, if they're not playing Sapphire or Steel, or Emerald, which does have item removal, but if you don't think they have item removal, then you don't need to worry about the turn 3 Doc, because if you've got Lantern down, you're still achieving a turn 4 5-drop, but you still might want to play the Doc on 3 so that you get a turn 4 6-drop, which can be really good for the ladies in red. And then, of course, the Peter Pan, who has Rush, 1/3, Quest for 2, and if you've got Tinkerbell in play, gets +3. So realistically, I really like this idea. In 10 games, but it was 7 games I played until I took the Peter Pans out of my deck. And in all those games, he didn't do anything that Mini Stylish Surfer Mini couldn't have done better. He is another option against aggro, which again, our early game can be our toughest. So he's another character we can play on 3 with Rush to immediately challenge into the likes of Pinocchio's and Maleficent's Biding Her Times and things like that. So I still like Peter Pan, but I did opt to move away from him. And then finally, of course, the main event. Here comes a real tour de force. My earlier crimes were fine for their times, but now that I'm at it again, an even grimmer plot has been simmering in my great criminal brain. He's going to kill Mufasa, or more preferably get flipped off the top of Mufasa and then re-ready himself so that he can't be challenged. But yet we got Very Large Mouser Ratigan, the mascot of the channel, 5-cost inkable, 3/3, quest for 2, and this This is my kingdom. When you play this character, exert chosen opposing character with 3 strength or less, choose one of your characters and ready them. They can't quest for the rest of the turn. So yeah, if you hit Ratigan off of Mufasa, he can re-ready either himself, or if there's something else on the board that has 3 strength or less, or even just like questing up with your Prince Eric, your Rapunzel, your Mufasa, your Tinkerbell, your Pongo, and then just re-ready them so that they're safe. And then exerting opposing characters with 3 strength or less is really strong. Think of the amount of targets that Madame Medusa has. That's a lot of things, and especially if you're hitting things like Arthur's, Docks, Ariels, Flavishams, if you've got something else that can finish him off on board. So yeah, Ratigan, love him obviously, and yeah, he's actually performing really, really well in this deck. So yeah, that was the first version of Mufasa, and like some of the games you'll see today will be this version. And yeah, the other version, not a lot of differences. We decided to cut the 2 Peter Pan. They just weren't performing well enough. And I opted to add a third Goofy, because Goofy performing really, really well. Big fan of Goofy in this deck. And I decided to add the Maui Whale, 7-cost Inkable, 8/8 quest for 1. He can't ready at the start of your turn, and you can pay 2 ink to ready him. So if you hit him off of Mufasa, that's pretty good. There's going to be times where you might want this to be a Mickey BLT. It's going to depend on the board state. If they've got a lot of characters that have just exerted, you could potentially clear up a whole board. Also good for taking out locations. But sometimes the BLT might be what you'd prefer if you're like really close to game, and then that might just cinch it for you. So I think there's arguments to go either way. There's also an argument to adding Stylish Surfer minis to this deck. I think that would be very reasonable, and if you were going to do that, like, you'd probably cut the whale, yeah, and something, maybe a Goofy for... I like 3 Goofy though, but yeah, there's arguments to getting the Stylish Surfer minis in here, and there's arguments to playing different builds in general. And on that note, let's look at a couple of other builds. As I said, my builds for these games that you're going to see today came inspired from the deck list from Brennan, and they have made a tweet where they showed their updated Amber Ruby Mufasa, where they themselves have moved away from Tinkerbell and the Peter Pan, and they've made some changes here. They've changed from the Queen engine to a Rockstar Stitch engine. This is an option. I played Rockstar Stitch in my Mufasa builds a lot in Season 2, and he can be good. I ended up deciding I just would rather the 8 slots to go to other things, and I'm playing the 4/4 as a queen in these games that you're going to see, and I think there's an argument to moving away from that as well. I'm just not that high on Stitch or the Queen, even though I do recognise their purpose. Opted to play a mini, which, as well as being an additional 1-drop, so that you can get the Piglet online, who we're also seeing here to be an aggressive quester, but it's also another answer to a turn 1 Cursed Merfolk, which is just a really strong card. Also opting to play some Bodyguard Simbas. Gone to the Stylish Surfer minis over the Peter Pans. Also opting for Maximus, which I think is a pretty good shout. Another mid-range character. We can get this down on turn 4. And it's got a nice stat line. The 4 strength keeps it out of Madame Medusa range. And yeah, probably the most interesting is the Stitch Abomination. 6-cost Inkable, 4/6. Quest for 3. I really like this. Again, if you can Lantern and Dock and play a 6-drop on 4, then this is going to put in some work. And he is out of both Madame Medusa range and Along Came Zeus range, so I really like the Stitch. We'll quickly look at 2 other Mufasa builds that have done well in tournaments this format. First of all, we've got Keith. We literally looked at this top 8 yesterday from Charlie's Collectible Shows, the 2K, and this same list came 2nd and 8th. It was Keith and Troy in a 103-person tournament, and this build going a very different way. No lanterns, no characters at all, opting for the 3 Plutos. There is still something to be said for playing Pluto, and Pluto into Mother Gothel into Rapunzel is just a really strong opening play. Also opting for 4 Minnie Mouse, not playing a Queen line or a Stitch line, so I respect having those early options so that you can combat aggro. No Queen of Hearts in here. Also playing the 4 Piglet, who is an aggro character that really nicely sets up Rapunzel. The 2 Hades, who I am a fan of. I would like to find room for Hades. The Keith and Troy opting for the Keeders as well, which is another great character, because again, we're aggro. Really, we want to build a wide board, and then our opponents put down some characters just to kind of stabilize it, and then we put down Keeder, and then we get a free questing turn. So that sounds good. And they're also playing 3 copies of Hydra, who I'm hot and cold on, to be honest. And then lastly, a list that made top 8 and at an event in Italy. Slightly different. We're seeing the Stitch line here. Once again, 4 minis. So something to be said for the mini line in Mufasa. The 4 Simbas, the 4 Stylish Surfer minis. We are seeing 3 Erics in this list. 3 Hydras, opting for the 4 Teeth and Ambitions. So a few different ways of playing Amber Ruby Mufasa. Also worth mentioning in Brennan's list from top 16 of the pack, they were opting to play the 1 Be Prepared. I think if you want to play 1 Be Prepared, absolutely go for it. I think it's fine. I said last season in my scripted video, I said that I think, like, sometimes you don't even get to 7. Sometimes you hover around the 5 or 6 mark and you rely on your docks and your lanterns, even though I wasn't really playing lanterns then. But yeah, you don't even always get to 7. And to be honest, a lot of the time, if you are board clearing, you could have like no resources. I don't know. I'm not huge on the Be Prepared in here. If I'm going to play more non-character cards, then I really want it to be worth it. Like, there's something to be said for playing bare necessities in this deck as well. And I think Teeth and Ambitions is like a good choice to help with the early game, and especially if you are playing the mini as a 1/3, because it's got synergy there. If you want to play the 1 Be Prepared, absolutely go for it. I do understand it. Personally, I'm not a fan. But yeah, I've had a lot of fun with these lists. I went undefeated my first 10 games. My first 7 games, I was playing the Peter Pan. After those 7, I decided to cut him, and I still won another 3 games in a row with the next build. I played on, and it took me until after 13 wins to take my first loss, which felt pretty good. But then because I wanted a couple more losses to show in the video, I was like, I need to keep playing until I can find a couple more losses. And then I lost 3 in a row. So yeah, mixed results. But overall, I think very good results. But anyway, this section has already gone on longer than I probably wanted it to be. So let's jump into some games. And if you're missing any of the singles from this deck, then check out Cardmarket for all your trading card game needs. So, lots of games to show, as always, hypercut and sped up. So our first game is against Steel Amethyst. We're going second. So yeah, Dock, one of the key pieces that we always want to see in our opening hand, if not Lantern, sometimes both. It depends what you're playing against, what the rest of your hand looks like. But yeah, we definitely want to keep Dock, and a turn 4 Mufasa sounds pretty good. I'm pretty sure I throw this Rapunzel away as well. Yeah, because we're playing against Steel, so I'm expecting good odds of an early wheel. It could be a Jafar variant, but even if it's not, Robin Hood could be an early way of singing it. So I choose to throw that away in this instance. Find ourselves a Gothel, a Pongo, a Tinkerbell, a Maui, and a Queen. So yeah, they're going first. They throw away a Fox. Sorry, that was a little blurry. We draw a Pongo, so we ink one of them, and we just pass. There's an argument I could have put down the Queen, and this is what I mean about how I'm not too sold on the Queen, because I never want to go down that line of play. I always prefer to hold it as ink, and know that I've definitely got, I can definitely get up to 3 and then 4 for hopefully a tilt dock and a turn 4 5 drop. But yeah, I could have put it down. Also, obviously, I'm against Steel, so I've got to bear in mind things like fire the cannons and let the storm rage on. I mean, they're not playing Amber, so there's not going to be like a cheap Cinderella play. But yeah, I opt to just not throw down the Queen, instead keep it for ink. They ink a Fox. Sorry, blurry again, but they throw down a Robin Hood, capable fighter. We draw a Queen of Hearts. We ink that Queen. As I said, I'm committed that I'm not going to go down that line of play. I could have played the Queen. What's the point? They just ping it. And then I could challenge in, and that would take me out, and I wouldn't even take out the Robin Hood. So it doesn't make a lot of sense. Might as well just keep it for ink. They decided to play Forbidden Mountain, so I'm like, okay, so this seems a little rogue, but okay, let's see what you're cooking. Throw down a second Robin Hood capable fighter and quest to 1. We throw away the Queen of Hearts. Again, there's no point throwing it into this board. I don't even take them out. I would do 1 damage to myself, and then they just exert to ping me next turn. But I can throw down Dock, and unless they've got any other chip, they shouldn't be able to deal with the Dock this turn just from the Robin Hoods. But of course, I've got to be wary that they might have fire the cannons, or they might just play let the storm rage on, or strength of a raging fire this turn. So I was quite scared of that. They do choose to double ping, and they do have to fire the cannons to take our Dock away from us, and they ink Baboom, but they're not able to play a card. But so that seems quite bad, but at the end of the day, now they've got 2 Robin Hoods on the field, which aren't offering a lot of quest pressure or challenge pressure. Their ping is annoying, but they're not doing a whole lot. 3 cards in their hand, and I'm at 7 in my hand, and I'm like, again, the closer I get to the 5 ink mark is where my deck starts to really wake up anyway, so I'm pretty okay with the situation. We choose to throw away the Congo, and I throw down Tinkerbell, some board presence, and it lets me search for a card. I take the Madame Medusa, pass over. They play a Storm Rage on, they sing for it the hard way to do 2 damage, and then they double ping to finish off the Tinkerbell. But again, I'm kind of fine with it. Tinkerbell had served a purpose. She was just finding me a card, really. They ink up and they pass. So they don't seem to have a whole lot going on. We draw a very large mouse. We ink the Gothel. No point keeping it while we don't have Rapunzel in our hand. And we throw down Maui. Let's start taking out these Robin Hoods. I could have also thrown down... It would have been silly to throw down Goofy. They're just going to ping away at it, and like it's not going to get its full value. Mufasa, again, there's an argument I could have done that, but I'd rather just take one of these Robin Hoods off the board, and I know that I can take the next one out the next turn, and then just decrease the amount of pressure that they have on my board. They choose to play Smash, and then they exert to finish off the Maui, throw away their Queen's Castle into the Inkwell, and down comes John Silver. So they're playing a Steel Amethyst location-based deck. So a little rogue, but I thought it was fun to include. We ink the Goofy, and we do throw down this Madame Medusa. Let's just get rid of that John Silver straight away before you find a location and start shenanigans. They throw down a Maleficent, drawing themselves a card, but already, like, they've spent a lot of their resources to take out characters that weren't that important. You could argue the dock was, but I'm in a pretty good position here. They exert to do 1 ping, we draw a Tremaine, and now I do just opt to throw down the Mufasa. Let's just start doing what we like. Mufasa's offering questing pressure, and again, he's going to replace himself, so let's start flooding the board and do what Mufasa do. We challenge into the Robin Hood, survive, and pass. They draw, throw down a goat to gain a lore. They trade the Maleficent into the boss and pass. We throw down Tremaine. Let's just get this Merlin goat off the field. I don't want you looping it and starting to gain lore. We can just get rid of it. I'm questing with Mufasa here, and again, Tremaine's a character that I can quest with next turn quite safely. Plus, I'm also aware that they might still be playing a whole new world, so let's just get the most value out of our hand when we can. So in that, I say that, I could have inked the Stitch here and then played down the Queen, but if they don't a whole new world, then I want the Stitch next turn to get some additional draw. They draw, throw down John Silver, and they've got nothing else. We draw a Maui, down comes the Surfer Stitch to draw us a couple of cards. We ink the Queen. I don't feel the need for her. I mean, they've showed that they're playing locations, but I've got a board, I've got a Maui in my hand. I'm 1 turn away from a Maleficent, so I'm not scared of that anymore. We double quest up to 6 and pass. They throw down Maleficent to draw themselves a card. They sing Let the Storm Rage on with John Silver to do 2 chip damage to Mufasa, and then they finish him off with Fire the Cannons, which I'm alright with. It's not a terrible move on their half. They do need to get rid of the Mufasas, but there's an argument you probably should have gone after the Tremaine there, just to decrease my questing pressure. But they go after the Mufasa. I find a Gothel off the top, which isn't the best hit. They ink a Robin Hood and pass. And we draw into Rapunzel at the exact right time. Even if we hadn't drawn the Rapunzel there, then Mother Gothel would have been fine here just to trade into the John Silver. But now because we've got the Rapunzel, not only do we get to draw 3, but we can go into the Silver without even having to trade. So lovely, lovely, lovely. We throw down the Lantern, throw Mother Gothel in the Inkwell. We tilt the Lantern so that we can play a 4-drop in Tinkerbell, find ourselves a Maleficent, quest up to 10, and we are sitting pretty. They've got nothing going on. They trade their Maleficent into the Mother Gothel, ink John Silver, and they do play a whole new world. So fair enough. I lost me dragons, Maui and Ratigan, but we've got a board and we're about to get a fresh 7, so we're not mad. They have some ink to play with. They sing Friends on the other side for some more resources, but not putting anything on the board there was really bad, because what are they going to do to combat my board at this point? So yeah, they pass. We just quest everything up to 17. Tilt the Lantern to throw down Dock. I also opt to play the... do it the correct way. Shift it so that you play less ink total. Because what can they do? They can't even double grab your swords, not with the amount of ink that they have. So I'm looking absolutely fine. We ink the Surfer Stitch. Why not? We play the Maui as well, because they could whole new world. So yeah, I know that they can't clear my board. They ink a Friends on the other side. Throw down Robin Hood. Bouncing back with the Madame Mim Fox to go into my Tinkerbell. They do play a whole new world, fair enough, just fishing for a way out, but there is none, and they surrender, looking for the word there. So yeah, not the most meta deck to face, and they didn't have a whole lot going on, but just showing our deck just kicking off in the best way possible, even without hitting an early, well, we hit the early dock, but we didn't benefit from it. So yeah, firm control. Our next game is against Sapphire Ruby, going second once again. again. Yeah, so throw away these pieces. Yeah, so Mother Gothel Rapunzel as a combo in your opening hand. You like to see, especially because I know I'm not going to be losing my hand against these colours. They don't have access to a whole new world. Again, I like to keep the Mufasa, even though I don't have a dock or a lantern. I also keep the Goofy here. I probably should have thrown the Goofy to help me find a lantern or a dock off this mulligan. I do regret that. We find a Peter Pan, a Rapunzel, and a Stitch, so not the best mulligan. They ink a Tamatoa, throw down a Porpsicle, doing what blue-red like to do, and pass. We draw Queen. We choose to ink it. I do double think for a moment, because really this is one of the decks where like it would be useful to have, because McDuck mana could go down early, and like, as soon as turn 3 if they play turn 2 1 jump ahead, and that would be hard to deal with. So, but I don't have the 1-drop Queen in this instance anyway. So we just ink it and pass over. They play Develop Your Brain, ink a Maleficent, throw down a second Porpsicle to draw and pass. We draw a Maleficent. I do have to throw it away. It never feels great because they aren't important in this match, because they're going to have Tamatoas, Maleficents, ladies in red. They're going to have a lot, Gastons. They're going to have a lot of characters that you want to remove. But I've got another 3 in the deck, and you've got to play the hand you've got. We throw down a Mother Gothel. I'm pretty sure it's going to be safe. They could be playing Teeth and Ambitions, but they can't play it straight away anyway, and not all blue-red decks are playing that anyway. So I feel pretty safe playing this Mother Gothel down. They ink Tamatoa, throw down the Fishbone, exactly what they want to see, ramp their ink, and pass over to us. We draw another Gothel, who goes straight in the Inkwell, and we throw down Peter Pan, just like it's our only 3-drop, and again, it's questing pressure, and I know that this turn they could Maui, but I haven't got anything exerted, so they probably won't. More than likely, they're going to be playing Flavisham on the next turn, which they do indeed. Throw away their Porpsicle to draw a couple of cards. They ink that McDuck mana, which I'm quite glad to see them ink, because I would have struggled to deal with it, really. They accelerate their ink with Fishbone and pass over to us. We've got a Maui Whale here. Yeah, I don't think these games are exactly in order. Some of them are going to be the games where I'm playing 2 Peter Pans. Some of them are going to be the other version. In fact, there may even be a third version where there's a couple of count differences, but the 2 decks you've seen are pretty much what we're going to be playing with. But we throw down a Rapunzel, get an additional draw off of Gothel, quest up with Peter Pan, why not, and pass over to them. They quest with Flavisham, remove the Porpsicle to get a couple of cards, throw down a Gaston, find themselves another card, ink Queen of Hearts, ramp even more with Fishbone. So I know that they're going to be looking to play the dime pretty soon, and then they're going to really start to quest aggressively. So they pass over to us, we draw Maleficent, we throw away the Goofy so that I can just throw down Mufasa. I know that they are building into they're going to have access to be prepared, but at least let's make them play it at this point, and Mufasa would replace himself, and then that's a way that I can deal with this Gaston without having to challenge into it myself, because I've got nothing that can one-shot it. I would have to trade 2 characters to deal with this Gaston. So we just pressure, put the Mufasa down, we quest up with everything, just put the pressure on. They throw down Maui to take out the Rapunzel, which is fair enough. Go into Peter Pan with the Gaston. Quest with Flavisham, and they do remove their Fishbone to get an additional draw, ink a Maui, and pass over to us. Not able to extend anymore, but they may also just be saving themselves, because they might know that they might want to play Be Prepared, depending on what I do this turn. So they pass over to me, we draw a Maui, which is really nice to see. We're able to trade Mother Gothel into Gaston, which is a really nice trade. We ink the Goofy, and we throw down Madame Medusa. Let's just get rid of this Flavisham and stop them having their draw. We just quest with Mufasa. There's no point being the one to challenge here. One, because I wouldn't even take them out. But let them be the one to challenge into us and then replace ourselves. And then the Maui can't challenge whatever Mufasa replaces with. Let's just make sure we're questing. So pass over to them. They do go into our Mufasa, and we find a Rapunzel. So not the best hit by any means, but at least it's a 2-lore quester. So yep. They throw down a Medusa to get rid of our Rapunzel, fair enough. They ink a Queen of Hearts and throw down a Flavisham. Pass over to us, we draw a dock. They don't know if we're playing Be Prepared, and if we are playing Be Prepared, then we kind of punish that Flavisham, to be honest. But it's a safe assumption that most Mufasas aren't playing the Be Prepared, I think. But we draw into dock, nice to see. It's a bit late, but there you are. We ink Maleficent, we throw down Rapunzel. I just want to pressure at this point, and make them Be Prepared. to get rid of to just wipe the board, because then I have a really easy Chernobog play. Alternatively, if they don't be prepared, then I want to be able to serve a Stitch, and I know that they're going to throw Maui into Madame Medusa this turn after me questing anyway. So yeah, I opt for this line. It may not have been the best line, but it's what we go with. They quest for Flavisham, don't have an item to banish, and I'm already reading, okay, I'm going to see the be prepared here, which they do. So fair enough, wipe the board, leave us 4 cards each. We find a Prince Eric, and we're able to play down the Chernobog as well for just 2 costs. So an example of Chernobog coming in really, really clutch, and this protects us nicely against Lady Tremaine, but being able to play 2 characters. So you love to see it, and it sets up our Server Stitch if we can keep our board. They throw down Tamatoa, which I'm perfectly happy with, because as soon as I see that, I'm like, okay, you're not going to have anything that can take out either of my characters. I suppose you could have Teeth and Ambitions, but they play the Porpsicle, draw a card, ink a Fishbone Quill, and pass over to us. And we draw Lady Tremaine, which is just too good to not pass up. A very good top, not gonna deny it, and they instantly concede. So yeah, a good showing against Red-Blue in that instance. Going to our next game, Emerald Steel, going second. Pixelborn, have fun. I certainly try. So throw away a lot here. Again, because I'm seeing Emerald, I want to keep the Queen of Hearts. I'm expecting things like Cursed Merfolk, Flynn Riders, stuff like that. And I also feel like Maui can be quite important in the Emerald matchup. And to be fair, like even Steel has some things that you want to take out quick. I just like holding Maui when I can. I don't know if that was the best choice though, to be honest. I probably should have dug a little deeper for my docks and my lanterns. But nonetheless, here we be. Not the best start. They ink Cinderella Stout-Hearted, throw down a Simba Future King to draw and discard. I do check it's an improvise. Throw away a Mother Gothel, we've got 2 in our hand, and just pass. They ink another Simba, down comes the Bucky, so I am skilled. We ink a Queen, down comes the Queen of Hearts, we're able to punish and take out that Simba. Pass over to them. They ink another Simba, down comes the Tinkerbell. So I have to be aware of the fact that they could turn for Big Tink, which not only does the 1 sprinkle damage, but would make me discard a card. We do discard the other Mother Gothel, which I think is fine. I don't want to get rid of the Dock because I want to play that this turn. Definitely don't want to get rid of the Mufasa. And I think the Maui is important for if they do get the Big Tink online, because it's one of my only sure ways to remove it, as long as it's exerted. So we get rid of the Gothel, even though I'm kind of scared of obviously discard, and it's one of the pieces that I can combine with Rapunzel to safeguard myself against that. But it is what we opt for. We throw down the Dock. I do quest with the Queen of Hearts. Yeah, because if they play Big Tink, then they take out my Queen of Hearts anyway, so they wouldn't be able to challenge and then do the 2 chip to dock. If the Queen of Hearts had more than 2 willpower, or didn't have any damage on her there, this would be bad, because they would play Tinkerbell, do 1 damage to Queen of Hearts and dock, and then they would challenge into Queen of Hearts with Big Tink to finish it off and then do the last 2 damage on dock. So if Queen of Hearts had no damage on it, then that would be a terrible quest. But because I can get away with it in this instance, they choose to exert Tinkerbell to draw and discard a card. So obviously fishing, throw down a Cinderella Knight in Training Hall, so lets them draw and discard a card, which was an improvise. Pass over to us, and they're not able to do a whole lot, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. We throw away the Mufasa, which never feels good, but I still think Maui's too important in this matchup. We tilt the Dock, throw down the Maui straight away, get rid of this Tinkerbell, take away that option completely for them to shift into Big Tink and get mad value. So that's why I opted to keep the Maui. They ink a Cinderella Knight in Training, and they can do nothing else. So really slow starts from a couple of our opponents, admittedly, but we go on. We ink the Maleficent. Not many options, especially if I want to keep the Mufasa. Throw down the Madame Medusa. Let's get rid of that Cinderella and stop them having Stout-Hearted shift open to them. They ink the Knight in Training. Down comes a Tragic Hero Beast, who, because Bucky's on the field, I am forced to discard. I choose to get rid of the Prince Eric. They don't quest, which is very smart. Otherwise, I would have been able to take out Bucky and then Lady Tremaine. Not that they know that I have Lady Tremaine, but still safer for them to not quest and keep Bucky as an active tool. We draw, we quest with Doc, throw down the Tremaine. I'm like, fine, just get rid of one of these things. Either stop you drawing more cards or stop taking cards away from me. That's fine. And again, they're limited in their board wipe. They have Grab Your Swords, which they could play a double of. They could sing it with Beast, so that would hurt. But that's life. safe. We quest up with everything, pass over. They do get the double draw. Down comes the Dreadnought. They ink the Raw Vizier, challenge into my dock with their Beast. Just that they want to stop me being able to play characters cheaper, but I don't think that was wise. I'm already at 5 ink. I think they'd have been better off keep. To be fair, would I have had game? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, I didn't have game. Well, it's slowing me down. Maybe it's just letting me get that bit too close to game. So I can understand the decision. We draw into Peter Pan. Down comes another Mufasa. If you are going to board wipe me, we'll grab your swords. Let's have that character replace itself. So we take out the Tragic Hero Beast. Because even though they're not drawing anymore, I don't want them having a 7/5 beat stick. So we quest up. Pass, yeah, we do it with Queen of Hearts as well. I was reluctant because I was like, you could challenge me, you could take me out with Dreadnought and draw a card. But my thought trail is, meh, if you want to do that, that's pretty passive. I've still got game on board. No, I wouldn't have had game on board. Well, I have game on board if they don't take out any of my characters, but they could have taken out my Madame Medusa. There's an argument to not questing a Queen of Hearts there, but I decided just to get, I'm fine for them to have the card draw, which they take. They throw down a Simba, trying to get through more of their deck. They throw down a Tragic Hero Beast, and then they just surrender. I didn't have game that turn, but we were pretty close to it. We've got a dock in hand. I think it was looking pretty good for us. Going straight on into Ruby Amethyst. I'm feeling bad that I've shown too many games where like we've just popped off, and they haven't really got going. But we'll continue. If nothing else, this is the watch Mufasa just destroying the video. But yeah, next game we keep the dock, throw everything else. That looks about right to me. Dock's the only card here that I really want to see early on. And against Ruby Amethyst, one of the established best decks in format. Not a terrible opening hand, not the best. Again, we're going to have a slow first couple of turns because we don't have a drop until turn 3. So they ink, they throw down Rafiki. We ink Peter Pan. Pass over to them. They ink an Yzma, quest up with the Rafiki and pass to us, which I think is pretty bad on their half because they've got to read that I'm playing Queen of Hearts. If you see red-yellow, you've got to assume Mufasa, and then I think you should assume Queen of Hearts, but we do not have it, so we are unable to punish that quest. We ink Serve a Stitch. We do throw down the Queen in this instance. Against this Rafiki, stop them questing, and I've got the shift target in my hand, so yeah, the Queen's finally getting some action. They ink Friends on the other side, play Maleficent to draw another card. They do quest up with Rafiki, fair enough. We ink the other Surfer Stitch. I've got the Rapunzel in my hand, so I've got a line to card draw. I definitely don't want to get rid of the Mufasa, and I'm pretty sure in my head I want to shift. Do I shift though? Yeah, I choose not to challenge there. I think that was a mistake, really. I think in my head it was because like I take out the Rafiki and then they trade with Maleficent, and I think in my head I wanted to play the Queen in my hand, but it's a really bad play because that's not a great line. Plus, it leaves them open to Pinocchio to exert my dock and then take him out with Rafiki. So yeah, not a good play from me. And another reason I don't like Queen, she kind of like, I get tempted by her into lines that I don't really think are the best. But nonetheless, that's what we do. They ink a Maui, they quest up with Rafiki, throw down the Madam Mim Fox to return that Rafiki. They sing Teeth and Ambitions with Maleficent, putting the damage on Fox and take out our Queen and throw that Rafiki back down. Fair enough, let's get rid of this Queen now. We defo don't need it. We quest up with Doc. And this is where I want to take my first Ratigan play. Tilt the Rafiki, re-ready my Doc. And I could have taken out the Rafiki here by challenging him with Doc, but I want to keep myself open to turn 5 Madame Medusa, if that seems like the best play. So yeah, not the most aggressive turn. I could have gone Mufasa there. I think I just wanted to play the Ratigan. Again, I think it's perfectly fine. It protects the Doc for another turn, so he's not being taken out by their Rafiki. Gives me another body that I can take out Maleficent with, or trade with the Madam Mim. So yeah, I think that was probably a perfectly fine play. They quest up as much as they can, return the Maleficent with their Snake, ink a Kuzco, quest up with Fox, throw down another Fox to return that Fox and keep it safe, and pass over to us. We draw a Queen, go straight into the Inkwell. I tilt the Doc. I think I play the Medusa here, yeah. Get rid of that Snake. Let's go into the Rafiki, take it out, and now if you want to trade into my Ratigan, 1, it's a trade, I'm taking you out in return, so I'm good with it, and 2, it means you're not going into this dock. But I think I forgot I've remembered now, but in play, I think I'd forgotten that I knew that they had another Madam Mim Fox in their hand, which I think is... Oh, they don't do that. They choose to sing Friends on the Other Side, which is also fine. They ink an Yzma, throw down a Maleficent to draw themselves a card, return that Fox to play another Fox and take out my dock, which makes sense. They're surviving it. Pass over to us. We draw a Mother Gothel, which we love to see. We ink the Maui. I do commit to the big turn here, even though I know that they have access to Be Prepared next turn. If they do that, they're drawing up to 5. They're inking to 7. So it leaves them with 4 cards in their hand, and then they're playing Be Prepared, which leaves them with 3 cards in their hand. So if they do want to Be Prepared this, then I'm not massively mad about it. They don't have such a huge hand that I think I would be too scared. So we just quest up with everything. Let's be the aggro deck, make them do the challenging into us. So we pass over, they quest up with the Maleficent. They do trade the Fox into the Ratigan, so immediately I'm like, okay, you're not playing the Be Prepared, which is fine. They return the Maleficent with the Fox, play a Maleficent again to draw a card. They trade into our Madame Medusa, ink the Snake, and pass over to us. We draw a dock, ink the Peter Pan, and we're finally able to throw down a Stitch to get ourselves a nice card draw. Quest up with everything, put the pressure on. Again, if they want to Be Prepared, I'm gonna have a better card count than them overall. They throw down Madame Medusa, get rid of our Gothel, who is more of a threat in terms of its stat line, so it makes sense to me. They go into the Rapunzel for reasons. We quest up with everything, throw down the dock, ink the Queen, and pass. So yeah, again, if they want to Be Prepared, that's fine. Following turn, I'm going to be able to play Mufasa and Doc, or Goofy and Doc, probably the Mufasa. And again, they're not going to have many cards left, and we're already at 14 lore. They play Dragon's Fire on the Surfer Stitch. Oh, that's why they did the chip damage onto Rapunzel with their Maleficent, so they could finish off with Medusa on the next turn. Fair enough, that makes sense. They ink the Goat, throw down the Sorcerer's Spellbook to try and get a bit of a catch-up. They quest up with Maleficent, but they're not able to tilt the Spellbook in the same turn. Pass over to us, we draw a dock. We throw down Mufasa. We tilt the dock to throw down another. Well, we're mostly just questing with dock. We're threatening game at this point. I'm basically saying, okay, well, I'm threatening game now, so you need to have Be Prepared or make some sort of big play to slow me down. They sing Friends on the Other Side with Medusa. They tilt the Sorcerer's Spellbook to gain a lore, and they do have the Be Prepared, which is perfectly fine, because Maleficent is about to replace himself, finds a Mother Gothel, which kind of gross. Any 2-drop I would have been happy with, but very luckily we draw into Surfer Stitch, so we're able to play Ink Dock, throw down Queen of Hearts, and then still have enough ink to play down the Surfer Stitch. Let us draw 2 cards. We ink up to 17, and once again we're threatening game. They throw down a rabbit, draw themselves a card, and they surrender. So a nice victory against Ruby Amethyst. Going straight on into our game against Sapphire Steel. Trying to get through this as quickly as I can. I want this overall video to be less than an hour. So yeah, you know the drill by now. We grinding through games. We keep the Queen of Hearts again. I probably could have thrown it away against Blue Steel. I think that probably would have been quite reasonable to throw away the Queen of Hearts. I agree with everything else we throw away here, Rapunzel included, because I'm definitely expecting a whole new world. But yeah, Queen of Hearts I probably also should have thrown away, but it's fine. Fresh mulligan, we're going second. They ink a Cogsworth and nothing else, which is fine by me. We ink the Maleficent. Again, I'm expecting to see a whole new world. Also, just as a note, I've noticed a couple of these games were recorded on a different recording session where my Streamlabs have the resolution of the window slightly wrong. You'll be able to notice you can't even see my name, Lorcana Villain. So because of that, my hand isn't the clearest throughout a couple of these last couple of games. We are coming to the end now. Hopefully you can still at least make them out, but my apologies for that. I will watch out for that in future games. We do choose to throw down the Queen. I don't know why. I'm not keen on the Queen. Like, I think I probably should have just left that and left it for ink. I suppose it's because I know that I'm pretty sure I'm being wheeled. So why not just play out as much of my hand as I can if you're going to refresh it anyway. They ink a Bell, pass over to us. We ink the Queen of Hearts. Quest up with Queen. Pass over to them. They ink a Fishbone Quill and play Mickey, which I can't see their hand. I don't know why you wouldn't play the Fishbone over the Mickey, but again, I can't see their hand. We draw Rapunzel, ink it straight away. I'm expecting to be wheeled. Throw down the dock, quest with the Queen. They ink Tinkerbell, throw down a Porpsicle to draw a card. Throw down the McDuck Manor, which is a bit of a... Maybe that's why I threw down the Queen. maybe Baker of the past was smarter than Baker of the now and was thinking, well, this is going to be important in case they throw down McDuck Manor. Yeah, I imagine that's probably what's happened. Baker intelligence levels differ from video to video. Terms and conditions apply. So we ink up, we quest with the dock, get down a nice early Mufasa, which is, I want to get this down before they play the wheel. We challenge in with the Queen so that it's just one less thing that I need to it's just one less bit of damage to get rid of this McDuck Manor. I'm expecting to lose my Maui, but if I don't lose my Maui, then I can throw down Maui, challenge for 6, challenge with the Queen for the other 2, and then I don't need to challenge with Mufasa or Doc. I can use them for questing. So I think that's the maths that I was doing at the time. Pass over to them. They gain 2 lore from McDuck Manor. They ink up, throw down a Tinkerbell, doing their 1 sprinkle damage, quest up with Mickey, and pass to us. And we're able to find the Queen of Hearts, but don't really need it. We quest with Doc, throw down the Maui, challenge into the McDuck Manor, finish it off with the Queen, the math I just highlighted. Yeah, I do opt to just take them out here. I could have just quested, but I also think it's fine to just take something else off their board. The maths doesn't matter. I already had 1 damage on me, so they can still take me out with Tinkerbell, Puny Pirate, if they challenge into something else. So yeah, there's an argument that I should have just quested there, but I also think it's fine to just take a character off their board. So yeah, we do that. We ink the Queen and pass over to them. They ink a Robin Hood. Challenge into our dock to take them out, putting the 2 sprinkle damage on the Queen, which is fair enough, and then they're able to play Hades and get rid of a Mufasa, which feels really, really bad. We draw Lantern. Thankfully, we have the Medusa to immediately take out Hades. We're able to take out Tinkerbell with our Maui, and we survive the hit. Pass over to them. They have another Tinkerbell, which takes out our Maui. We draw a Maleficent, throw down the Lantern, tilt it to play the Tinkerbell, get ourselves a Lady Tremaine. I'm just hoping that they don't play an additional character, really. We ink up. They do indeed throw down the Detective Mickey, quest up with Tinkerbell, and pass. We throw down the Madame Medusa to get rid of this Mickey Mouse. My thought trail is, let's just try and get rid of the other characters and wait for a turn where you can't play an additional character, and then I can Tremaine to get rid of your Tinkerbell. And again, it's another character with like high enough strength. It's a shame because the strength doesn't take out the Tinkerbell, so I would have to trade 2 characters still. But I can do it alongside with Tinkerbell, so it's fine. Yeah, I think I did consider if I wanted to double in and take out the Tinkerbell there, but I opt just to quest up, pass over to them. They throw down a Flavisham, get rid of their Portugal to get a draw 2. Throw down their Robin Hood. Quest with Tinkerbell and pass over to us. We throw down our Mufasa. Obviously, I'm still expecting a wheel at any moment. We ink up. I do take the trade at this point. I don't want them having a free... I mean, they have Robin Hood on the field, so there's a world where they can shift into the Floodborn and then still play Whole New World. But if they do that, I don't want them also having an additional singer that can play another Whole New World or play a Grab Your Swords for free. So I do opt to take quite a feels bad trade to get rid of the Tinkerbell. Quest up with Medusa. They throw down Cogsworth. They Rise of the Titans, my Lantern away. Quest up with Flavisham and Robin Hood. Pass over to us. We take out the Flavish. There you go. There you go. There's my misplay. I knew it was somewhere in this set of games. I mathed wrong. Forgot Cogsworth. Challenged in them with the Medusa. Didn't take it out, and which it shouldn't anyway. And then challenged in them with the Medusa. Yeah, just didn't clock it in time until after I challenged both, and then it survived. I was like, wait, what? Oh yeah, you've got Cogsworth on board. So a complete misplay on my half. Again, I don't try and shy away from my misplays. I think they're important to include, and maybe it will help someone watching to just that. Maybe someone will play a Cogsworth and you'll think, oh, there was that time that Baker really messed up. Let's not do what he did. So if it helps you, then I'm good with it. So yeah, a really bad play from us there. Pass over to them. They're able to find another Hades to get rid of our Mufasa, which feels bad. We find a Queen, throw it down, and yeah, I would have been, if I'd have noticed the Cogsworth, then I would have taken out the Robin Hood instead. So yeah, really feels bad. We quest up. They're able to find another Hades, take out our Queen, take out our Medusa. We are able to find another Mufasa, which does feel good. We just quest up at this point. I'm so salty. I just want to hopefully quest a game before I get too punished for it. They throw down Tinkerbell, which takes out Mother Gothel. Shift the Robin Hood, and yeah, this Robin Hood wouldn't have been here, so it wouldn't have been able to take me out this turn. They could have potentially gone into it with something else, but yeah, that gives them a lore bump. They're able to quest up there to 18, and yeah, we just completely threw. I may have still been able to come back if I hadn't made that misplay. I imagine I would have, because I would have just quested higher. I don't know, I might have still lost, but yeah, a pretty savage misplay on my half. But we push on into the same person, Maiden Wesley, going first this time. And this is after the point, like, this is just best of one ladder, so it was a complete coincidence to queue back into them again. This time I do throw away the Queen when I probably should have kept it in preparation for the McDuck Manor, but there we go. They in Grandma Tala. We throw away our Surfer Stitch, get the Lantern down. I know they've got item removal, but they don't have access to it yet. They ink McDuck Manor and throw down a Smee. We ink Pongo, throw down a Dock, leave in there. They ink another Smee, and they play Rise of the Titans to get rid of our Lantern, but that's fine because we just played Dock. They quest up with Mr. Smee. We ink Pongo, tilt the Dock, throw down the Goofy. So I am letting the Smee sit there and like get some value. They ink Fishbone Quill and play Along Came Zeus to get rid of this Goofy. Fair enough. Let's bait out that those big removal cards. And they do opt to trade their Smee into my Dock, which I'd have probably just quested if I were them, but fair enough. We ink the Queen, throw down Prince Eric, and I just want any inkable on my next turn. Any inkable, and I am in a perfectly fine position here. They ink a Robin Hood, throw down a Robin Hood, and we get Madame Medusa. Felt so incredibly bad, but that's life. We ink the Gothel, play the Madame Medusa. At least we're able to get rid of this Robin Hood. It could have been worse, to be fair. Yeah, it could have been worse, but yeah, it just felt bad. But to be fair, even if I had... Maybe that was preferable, because this stops them singing A Whole New World. So maybe... yeah, maybe it was actually better that I drew that, but it does take my card draw away from me. But in a perfect world, they're going to be playing A Whole New World for me anyway. Let's just have them not sing it for free. So we quest up with Prince Eric. They throw down a Fishbone Quill. They ramp up even more and pass, and thankfully we are able to draw a Surfer Stitch, and we've got enough ink to be able to, so we can play the Rapunzel, and we've got enough characters to throw down the Stitch and immediately draw two, which feels really nice. We quest up with everything, pass over to them, they ramp with their Fishbone, and they just sing Whole New World. They need to at this point, so fair enough. They give us a fresh hand, and they only have 4 ink to play with because they hadn't inked. So they ink up to 4, and they play Belle, and here I am eyeing up my very large mouse, very happy, very happy. They inked Mr. Smee, I think. Pass over to us. We quest with Eric, throw down Ratigan to exert the Bell, to re-ready the Prince Eric. We challenge into the Bell with Medusa, quest up with Surfer Stitch, ink the Maui, throw down the Dock. Again, they could double grab your swords. But again, then that's all they're doing. It would leave them with 3 cards in their hand, and I still have a Stitch on the board and a nice wide, a lot of cards in my hand. Again, this is where not being able to see my hand is kind of a bit weird. I'm pretty sure that's a Surfer Stitch, the far left card, I'm pretty sure. They find themselves a Hades, get rid of our Surfer Stitch, they throw down McDuck Manor, and at this point, I'm able to just throw down Tremaine, get rid of the Hades, and I don't even need to care about McDuck Manor. I quest here up to 17. I could have quested to 18, but I'm like, meh, fine, we'll do 4 damage with the Madame Medusa because she's only questing for 1 anyway, and they just surrender, and that's a GG. Going straight on, this video is definitely going to overrun. You know, for the sake of time, I'm going to skip just 1 game, and I'm going to skip to this. This is the final game that I'm showing. Once again against Ruby Saphire. I've shown quite a few games against that deck, but it's a very popular deck, so I think it's worth showcasing. We keep the Dock, we keep the Gothel, because if I find that Rapunzel, that's lovely. Again, an argument that I should have kept the big queen and hoped to find the small queen. I included these queens, and I just never really showed them much respect. But there you go. But yeah, not bad. A very nice mulligan. We're able to find both the queens from that mulligan. But they're going first. They ink Tamatoa. Down goes the ice cream. Draw a card. Pass to us. We ink the monstrous dragon. Down goes the queen. Yeah, this is one game where I was switched on to the McDuck Manor, and especially when I have the Floodborn in my hand. So pass over to them. They ink a Grandma Tala. Player develop your brain to find a piece, play a second Develop Your Brain to find another piece. We ink our Maleficent, and I do choose to just, I think this is the only time I do this. Maybe there was one other time I've already done it, but certainly wasn't a lot. I choose to quest straight away because I know there's nothing that they can do to take out this queen. Queen of Hearts obviously doesn't do it. That doesn't have the right stats, and is there pretty much usually their only rush character. To be fair, some are playing the Rocket Stitch, so you could argue that was a pretty bad quest from me if they were playing that. So yeah, probably not the best quest with that in mind, but not many Ruby Saphire decks are playing the Rocket Stitch. But they one jump ahead, get their ramp, we ink a Pongo, down goes the dock, open us up to our turn 4/5 drop, which at the moment is looking like Goofy. They challenge into my Queen of Hearts with their Maui, fair enough. Pass over to us, we ink the Rapunzel, because I've got another one in my hand. I was just thinking, why did I do that? Because I've got another. We make the trade with the Maui because I don't want them taking out my dock for free, even though I know that they can now technically play another Maui and get rid of it, which would feel pretty bad. They play Porpsicle, and they find Flavisham. So, okay, not as bad as it could have been. They ink a Bell, throw down another Ice Cream to draw some more cards, and pass to us. We find another Maui, we ink the Goofy, and I just opt to take the big draw turn, which obviously with 5 ink and a dock, you have enough to do. So we get ourselves a nice 3-card draw and put pressure on the board. They ink Grand Martada, they quest up with Flavisham to destroy their Ice Cream, draw themselves a couple more cards. They find Scar to take out our dock and re-ready. Pass over to us, we find a Gothel. We throw down the Maui, let's get rid of this Flavisham, let's take away your card draw engine from you as quick as we can. Pass over to them. They throw down a Madame Medusa, who takes out our Rapunzel. Ink a Judy Hopps. Throw down a Queen of Hearts. They choose to quest with the Scar and pass over to us. We draw Mufasa, ink the Mother Gothel, throw down a Surfer Stitch to get ourselves some card draw. We trade into the Scar, which feels pretty good. They throw down another Flavisham, get rid of their Ice Cream, draw a couple of cards, ink a Queen of Hearts. And they throw down the Maui's Fish Hook, which is a lovely item. Gives evasive to their Medusa, meaning that I can't take it out with the Maui. So we have to play down the Tinkerbell because I want to find myself some cards. Could have played the Mufasa there as well. But there's a strong argument that Mufasa was a better choice. I think I just wanted to find the card draw. I think that was what I was leaning towards, really. They throw down a Maui, go into our Stitch, which they're able to take out because they boost its strength with the Maui's Fish Hook. Ink another Maui. They quest up with Madame Medusa. Pass over to us. We find another Tinkerbell. We throw down the Surfer Stitch, draw ourselves a couple of cards. We trade the Maui into the boss, and we trade the Tinkerbell into the Maui, which feels pretty good to me. Ink our Maui Whale, and yeah, we're pretty even card resources, and we're both pretty even ink, considering they're the ramp deck, and I'm at 10 lore, so I'm feeling pretty good. They're able to find a Tamatoa, recycle a Porpsicle, which they play immediately to draw. They get rid of that Porpsicle with Flavisham to get themselves some more draw. This deck just able to, like, make incredible comebacks. They quest, they ink a Tamatoa, and they give evasive to their Flavisham with the Maui Fish Hook. Thankfully, we've got enough ink to play this Maleficent, get that Tamatoa out of here. I quest into the Queen of Hearts here, which I think was a terrible play. I think I absolutely should have just quested there. I don't know what I was thinking, so I'm not even going to try and justify it. They quest up with Flavisham, get rid of their Maui's Fish Hook to draw a couple of cards, and they play the Be Prepared, which absolutely makes sense. Play one jump ahead for some more ramp and pass to us. We play the Tinkerbell, get ourselves a Surfer Stitch. We always want to be looking for that more card draw, and we play a Mufasa and ink a Queen. They throw down an Intellectual Powerhouse Gaston for some draw. They throw down a second Gaston for some more draw, ink a Grand Martala, and pass over to us. We're able to play another Surfer Stitch, ink the Queen of Hearts, throw down the Prince Eric, quest up with the Mufasa and the Bell, just let's just get as close as we can. Because at this point, I kind of want them to be prepared. Well, it's not that I want them to. I'd happily keep my board because I'm very close to game. In fact, 2, 4, 6, I have game next turn, although they're definitely going to stop me from having game. But yeah, let's make them challenge and stop them from questing so aggressively. And if they do Be Prepared, the Mufasa replaces himself, and I have enough cards in my hand to immediately follow up with another Mufasa Goofy, something like that. So they quest up with Gaston. They choose to quest with both of them. They ink the Maui's Fish Hook, Throw down the Scar with really nice play. You're able to take out both the Tinkerbell, re-ready, and take out the Mufasa, and lives the hit. And our hit is Tinkerbell, which doesn't feel great, but it does get us some card draw. We find a Rapunzel off of it, and now they play the Be Prepared, because I'm still pretty close to game. But still, that's not a terrible position. We're now at more equal lore. 4 cards in their hand to my 6, so could have been worse. We throw down that double of Mufasa into Goofy, like I said. Pass over to them, they ink Maleficent, and they throw down Belle, Lucky Dime, and immediately tilt the dime to go to 19. And I was like, what? What is going on? And I was like, oh no, I have absolutely lost. I have absolutely lost, because I can't win this turn. I can play the Madame Medusa, get rid of the Belle. They throw me the well play because they know it's game, because all I can do here is quest up with these two to get me to 17. I'm able to. I could have played down the Eric, but I know all they need is any character. And just for the Dragon's Fire on top, they throw down Maleficent and they're able to tilt their dime. And shout out to the Portal RJ who hit me up after the game with a GG. But yeah, that's it from me for now. This video has really overrun. I know we go quite fast with the gameplay section. The feedback I've had on the channel in the past has been like people prefer it hypercut and just sort of casting it and going through it at a quicker pace. But always let me know feedback. If you would prefer less games, then let me know. I do feel like I probably included a couple too many games there where we just popped off and destroyed. I usually try and make it a good balance, but hey, if you like Mufasa, then you probably enjoyed this video. But yeah, Mufasa, still really good. I think there's a few variants that can do well. I'm a big fan of Ratigan in the deck. The link will be listed down below. Let me know in the comments how you get on with it. What version of Mufasa are you playing? But that's it from me for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you're brand new to the channel, please subscribe for all things Lorcana. Hit the like button to show support, and we'll see you soon.